Hello and welcome to LL Cook Bay, the only cooking show that leaves you hungry for justice and thirsty for blood. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a variation of one of the most divisive desserts in history, Frauditor's surprise. The surprise is that the outcome really should not be surprising if you've been paying any attention whatsoever. First though, a huge thank you to everyone who subscribed in the last couple of months. The channel may still be tiny, but I've got plenty of shows planned in the pipeline to keep us all laughing. So if you haven't already, get yourself subscribed and click for notifications. Triple digits, here we come. Now, back to the video. Frauditor's surprise. It's a divisive dessert because normal people, anti-frauditors like you and me, who tend to believe in applying people's rights equally across the board and allowing post office workers, police and public sector people to go about their work in peace, find it to be a very sweet and satisfying dessert and incredibly Moorish. That's Moorish like crack, by the way, not Moorish like the Sovsit spin-off group who wear fezzes. Frauditors, on the other hand, seem to find it incredibly hard to swallow, and most of them experience a bitter aftertaste, yet for some reason you'll still see them regularly uploading videos of themselves baking this dessert for their subscribers. Personally, I find today's variation to be a bit spicy. Not in that way. Like,
looks like things are getting too spicy for the pepper.
first, we need to take equal measures of entitlement, misread law, and fuckwittery, and mix that in with some arrogance, some essence of Karen, a few pinches of grated nasal whining, and a little more silly chili than is tasteful. Add some toddler tantrums if you fancy a bit of crunch. My top tip for this recipe, though, is to be sure to misread the law, or at least pretend to, because the cake will not rise if you demonstrate a sound understanding of it. It's a bit like opening the oven door when you're cooking a poster 7 souffle. While I mix these ingredients and preheat the oven, here's my recent trip to the Cheshire chili farm where silly Chille Tears are made. Who was it who said, "Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results"? You might answer Einstein, but if you did, you may have fallen victim to Chille's folly, or Chillito fuckwitticus to use the genus. Chille's folly is kind of like a cross between the Mandela effect and an urban legend, with a sprinkling of confirmation bias. I always thought it was Einstein too, but it was actually Rita Mae Brown. Well, she wrote the sentence. The fictional character Jane Fulton actually said it in the novel Sudden Death. But links between repetition and insanity have been around for a lot longer. In the 1892 book Degeneration, author Max Nordau linked the repetition in artists' work as evidence of a mental defect. The 1955 book The Psychology of Personal Constructs by George A. Kelly mentions defining a disorder as any personal construction which is used repeatedly in spite of consistent invalidation. And in 1981, Jesse Potter, while giving a speech on family relationships, included the quote, "If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten." Every single one of these quotes aptly describes this whole thing Chille's got going on, but also every other frauditor and every conspiracy theorist, all of whom seem totally oblivious to this concept of not repeating the same thing and expecting different results. And what is the result of always getting what he's always gotten when he uses this script-based grift he seems to hold so dear? Chille tears. And when they start to cry, they're ready to harvest. This year's crop has come early, with a strong supply and an intensely salty flavour. So, while it wasn't surprising to many of us that video evidence of Chille committing a couple of petty crimes was used in court as evidence of him having committed those crimes, Chille somehow seemed perplexed and upset, and those emotions alone provided a month's supply of Chille tears for the farm. I'm taking a bottle home with me tonight. We're making chili. Con carne. Chili con carne. And what a lovely chili that was. Again, I'm talking about the food. Now, the oven is heated to 180 degrees Celsius, so in goes our base layer of Frauditor's surprise. And speaking of surprises, It wasn't surprising to many of us that his lawyer's repeated attempts to mount a First Amendment defence in a court case that had precisely fuck all to do with the First Amendment were repeatedly shut down, nor was it a surprise that the prosecution objected every time to the defence trying to pretend this was a First Amendment case, when the officer's testimony, the judge and the prosecution all repeatedly confirmed that it was not. Nor was it a surprise that every single one of those objections was sustained, though not always immediately, because the judge also recognised that this was not a First Amendment case. But is it insanity though? From Chille, quite possibly. I'm no professional, but the man clearly has some mental health and anger management issues. He lies, he grifts, he records videos of himself committing crimes, uploads them to a public website, and then cries when there are consequences. He blows things wildly out of proportion, he frequently acts like a Karen, he overreacts to anything that doesn't go his own way, and he has public meltdowns over pretty much nothing, and somehow seems shocked that people call him out for it. I'm not done yet. He continues to refer to himself as a constitutional law scholar despite not even being able to grasp the First Amendment, or probably any others for that matter. The list goes on. Perhaps not guilty by reason of insanity is plausible, but I can't see him going for that. And what about the actual lawyer, who is licensed to practice law, yet still continually tried to retcon the charges? That did surprise me. I'd have thought a man who knew enough about the law to pass the bar would be well aware that mounting a First Amendment defence in a case where the First Amendment is completely irrelevant would be somewhat stupid and counterintuitive to giving his client the best possible defence. But this is a lawyer who appears, on the company website at least, to be proud to represent paedophiles, rapists and all manner of scumbag. Oh, there's the timer. And here's our base. Case law in Chille's name, fresh and sweet. Leave this base to cool down in a small container, like a cell, for about a week. It should start to smell a bit, go a little stale, and may smell slightly of cum and fear. For the second tier, add some crocodile tears to the mix. The dough is knocked back, kind of like Chille's First Amendment defence repeatedly was. Knocking back, by the way, if you don't know, is where the air is punched out of the dough after proving. A bit like Chille getting a gut punch style response to suspended. Haha, no Chille, not suspended. Take him away.
Sentence suspended or?
Oh no, we can start right now.
Can you put your hand back to your shoulders there?
After the week of going stale, it's time for the second layer of the cake. The motion for an appeal bond. This time, Chille was represented by Chris Oram, who has supposedly been brought in to represent Chille and look out for his best interests. He was here today to file a motion for Chille, an appeal bond. But fuck me sideways if less than 2 minutes into his speech, Oram started trying to bring up the First Amendment. He then spent a few minutes trying to paint Chille as having already learnt his lesson, not having any serious criminal history, and then asked for the appeal bond. Is that as in let him out until his appeal? You must be joking. In any case, Agnes Botello, leading for the state, was spot on again. As an aside, I was working on a larger video covering the trial in a sports commentary style video, but I'm not sure whether to ditch that or finish it, as it's not exactly fresh off the press now. But who knows, if you want to see it, let me know in the comments, I might finish it anyway. As I noticed during the trial, and while researching these videos, Botello shows that she is a straight shooter, more than happy to concede where appropriate. She reiterated, as she had to several times during the trial, that this is not a First Amendment issue. Officer Brandon Bork's testimony stated that plenty of times during the examinations of the witness, and the judge confirmed it in no uncertain terms on multiple occasions during the trial. Unsurprisingly, the Honourable Anne Zimmerman remembered the week-old case that had fuck all to do with the First Amendment, other than the defendant not understanding the First Amendment, and she was not buying the crocodile tears, let alone the attempt to retcon the charges. Yet again, Chille's uploads, or in this case uploads by proxy, come back to bite him in the arse. though still nowhere near as often as they should. It's only a matter of time before he ploughs into a load of pedestrians. Publishing even more drama queen rant videos claiming tyranny, conspiracy, and painting the case as a First Amendment issue when, as we all know, it's not, does not suggest to me that he's sorry at all. And if this is his best acting, no wonder he didn't make it as a Power Ranger, because it's shit. Judge Zimmerman, having seen his channel in this past week, decided to believe what Chille himself had said in his latest videos and phone calls, rather than believing his lawyer's claims of remorse. And rightly so. I don't believe for a second he's sorry for what he did. He's simply sorry that he's being forced to accept the consequences of his actions. Because, like all frauditors, Chille hates being held accountable. And now the two layers have cooled, we can add the icing. Or if you're American, frosting. And, bit like Chille with the crocodile tears, we're gonna lay it on nice and thick. Because now, it looks like his bid to become governor of Nevada could be even more unlikely to pay off than we all originally suspected. According to gov.nv.gov, the government website for the state of Nevada, and envyofall.gov sites, every candidate must complete the authorization for release of personal information waiver. Bit of a mouthful that. Let's look a little closelier. Disclosure of a social security number is voluntary. Well, if it's voluntary, he won't disclose it, I hear you say. Well, as much as Chille hates transparency, he's not soft it. So I think he might disclose it, especially when you consider the alternative. However, if you do not disclose your social security number, you will need to provide a current credit history. Not great for an unemployed man who allegedly lives in a van. Not only is this going to highlight his monetary issues, but it could also bring to light any tax fraud that he's been committing, should he not be declaring his YouTube earnings, for example, which we know a lot of frauditors have tried doing. Pursuant to NRS 239B.030, social security numbers will remain confidential and will only be disclosed for the purpose of coordinating a background check. Background check. Uh-oh! Oh no, all of this is going to come to light. But here comes the kicker. A record of conviction will not necessarily bar the applicant from appointment, and the appointing authority will consider factors such as the length of time that has passed since the offence. Oh dear. Well, the offence, I believe, was last year, but he's only a week into his sentence. The age of the applicant at the time of the offence. Oh no, 49? That is definitely old enough to know better, and definitely old enough to be a productive member of society. What are you playing at, Chille? Do better. The severity and nature of the offence. Well, this is petty, but given it brings to light his criminal history and his YouTube channel chock full of evidence of him committing other crimes, being petty is not going to be enough to cancel out the other red flags. The relationship of the offence to the position for which the applicant has applied. I'd imagine being the governor of a state involves quite a lot of dealing with, law enforcement, budgets, taxes, policies, generally having to make some very important decisions that carry huge ramifications. Now, given this jobless loser has spent 20 odd years supposedly studying constitutional law, and still can't seem to fully grasp the very First Amendment of said constitution, his decision to obstruct the officers and interfere with their traffic stop, followed by his decision to resist, and his decision to lie and pretend that he was falsely arrested, his decision to claim that the judge is biased and that his crime should go unpunished because he doesn't think his actions should be illegal, all go against him here too. It's really not looking good. And finally, evidence of the rehabilitation of the applicant. Oh, mate. No. That's you fucked. Well, this remains to be seen, but I don't think I've ever seen Chille learn from any of his long list of mistakes. With most crimes on his record showing repeat offences, my money would be on there being no rehabilitation of the applicant whatsoever. If anything, being made to face the consequences of his actions will make him play the victim even more, as he has been doing this first week, when he immediately started e-begging for 25 grand and within a couple of days doubled it to 50. Mate, if you can't even govern yourself, What hope do you have of governing 3.144 million people? Oh, that's the timer. Ta-da! Oh, look at that. If you liked the recipe, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to help my tiny channel rise like a poster 7 souffle. For the full length recipe for both layers of Frauditor Surprise court videos, head over to Our Nevada Judge's channel. Links to both those videos are in the description along with the recipe for the icing. Thank you for watching and until next time, cheers.